and welcome to Day Home Divas. I'm Joanne.
I'm Cash.
And I'm Sophia.
So this week we would like to welcome back Vidya to the podcast. Welcome, Vidya.
Hi, Joanne. Thanks for having me back here again.
The entire program needs to be scrapped and start over, but start getting ideas from the people who work in the field, who have kids in the childcare, not these figures in government that have no idea what's going on with childcare at all, but they're trying to make these decisions. You need to get the information from the workers, from the people accessing the programs. That's how you build a quality program, right? We're the
Right.
ones that are in it. We know what's needed. We know what works, what doesn't work. And honestly, this whole push for it to be a public service for our childcare is complete bullshit. No, thank you. Nobody needs that. Having the private sector as part of it helps to create business, to create jobs, move things along far quicker, as we've seen. I mean, the nonprofit sector is not moved at all on their 40,000 spaces that they're supposed to be creating. The private sector ate them up in no time, right? So
Yeah.
having this as a public service, that's just a terrible idea.
But that's also the reason why they introduced the building blocks program, right?
Yeah.
Now, because now that gives you the capital that the not-for-profits require to be able to move forward on those spaces that they weren't able to so far, right? So
Yeah.
the whole building blocks program that's come through now, what it does is it's essentially saying, here's the money, now go build.
Which is, again, bullshit. If there was no money for funding for the private sector, where did you get this extra money from to give to the
It's an
nonprofit? Like what? It
It's
just
not
makes
no
no sense.
money. It is we don't want to give the money for a specific sector versus the other.
Yeah.
That's really what it is,
Yeah.
right? Because if you look at the building blocks program, like so when the space creation grant came in, right? There was a maximum, depending on which category it belonged to, there was a maximum of $6,000 per child,
Right.
right? The building blocks program is for serious capital investment. So you're looking, I mean, here the numbers are, I have to go back and check it. So I'm not going to throw something out there that I'm not very clear of,
Sure.
but the numbers are astounding because the intent of that program is to actually construct buildings. So it's really the intention is go out there, find the land, and we will pay you for building or constructing the brick and mortar into which a daycare needs to go. That's what the building blocks program is. So there is money. There's a serious money that we're talking about.
Yeah. But I mean, all these daycare centers that are being built in like strip malls and like with concrete play areas and stuff, that's not quality childcare, right? That's not like, I don't know. I feel like the government is misunderstanding something. I mean, there's going to be spaces like inner city, right? I mean, there's only
Yeah.
so much green space there. Totally understandable. But every like the further out you get, every industrial area has a daycare center. So an interesting thing I found out, so my husband and my son, they work in the auto body industry. The last
Mhm.
shop they were at, there was a daycare center right next door to their shop on the side that their paint booths were. Well, their paint booth has like exhaust fans that let out all their chemicals and all,
Out.
yeah, out right into where the kids are playing outside. Like,
So what happened with a health inspector, a city planner, building codes, like no one caught this?
apparently not. It's been functioning for like 5 years at least now. So yeah, and I mean, there's gases, there's fumes, also right next to like the space outside. So right next to where their play area, outside play area is the yard where they dump the cars that can't be fixed. I mean, there's smashed windows, there's like tell me none of that debris is getting into that play area, right?
And I think that speaks to a bit of that consistency in what is required and how different health inspectors look at different things as
Yeah.
well, right? And different planners look at different things. I mean, as much as things are, there's things are very clear in some cases about what are the requirements. We know for a fact that every inspector is different,
Yeah.
and what each inspector asks for is completely different from the other, and they can make it difficult for you otherwise. And it's not just with the inspectors, it's with the planners too.
Yeah.
Your DP, your BP getting approved is so dependent on the planners that you get.
Yeah, I feel like the government needs to stop focusing so much on whether it's a private daycare center versus a nonprofit daycare center and start focusing more on where are these
Where,
centers located?
how?
How are they built? What are they next to? You know, remember the kids that are in those daycare centers, government? That's your focus. That's who needs your attention, not whether it's a private business or a not-for-profit business.
And then I do tend to agree with you on that, Joanne. And I mean, I think that we spoke about this very early on as well, right? Is the focus for the government to meet their goals shouldn't be about private
Yeah,
or not for profit, right? It should be on the safety of the kids, the
yeah,
care of the kids, and the choice for the parents.
yeah,
This is really what they should be focusing
a
on to
hundred
implement their
percent.
program and to implement what they want to be getting at. And I just feel the way they're going about this is so misplaced.
Yeah,
They're focusing on all the wrong levers. They're focusing on the wrong indicators here. They should be focusing, like I said, is three things: is safety of the kids, development of the kids, and choice for the parents.
yeah, yeah,
That's what it
exactly.
needs to be,
Oh,
right?
100%.
Everything else is honestly noise.
Yeah,
And everything else that they're focusing on shouldn't be a focus. Why does it matter if it's a private operator or a not-for-profit operator?
yeah,
If the quality that either of them is providing and the way they are using your funds is in the right direction, is addressing these key elements that we just spoke about,
yeah, exactly.
100%
right?
agree.
I feel like the government is trying to get into the how and not focusing on the what.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, 100%.
Trying to control too much.
Right?
About control. We need to control. They just need to take
Well,
a step
you are
back.
getting, so the government does get a bunch of that control anyways, right? But because based on how the affordability grant agreement is written up, you are as a government ensuring that the money that the parents are getting, that the operators are getting, is being funneled back into the business, right? So
Yeah,
it's not like you don't have any control.
Yeah.
You have control. You have control. You have exhibited control by saying this is what you will be charging
yeah,
each each child, right? So you've got those controls in place. It's not like you don't. Then why add this another layer which does nothing but to create issues?
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
chaos.
exactly.
Creates chaos. Creates
Right,
chaos.
right. It's all it's doing is creating chaos. It's creating noise. It's not helping you implement this well,
Yeah,
right? So you brought your cross control framework and you said this is you have put a rate cap, or more importantly, this is all you can charge, right? So
Yeah.
you've
yeah,
brought that in. You're saying that everything, every money, every penny you give us has to be spent towards the running of the center. And if it's not, then we have to return it back. So you have a control there too, making sure that things are being spent the right way, it's spent towards the care. So then why does it matter if it's for profit, if it's not for profit?
It doesn't
right.
matter.
It
It
Like I
shouldn't,
said,
doesn't.
it
right?
shouldn't. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't
Does a
matter.
parent really walk in and ask, are you a for-profit or a
Exactly. It
not-for-profit?
does
No, they don't.
it doesn't make any sense. It
No,
makes zero sense.
no.
I don't know. So have you looked into any other options, like such as offering a not-for-profit program?
We did look into that, and at this point in time, honestly, I don't think, again, this is back to my choice being taken away from me,
Yeah,
right?
Right.
So we have looked into it, and maybe it shouldn't be a hill I should be ready to die on. I don't know. But a not-for-profit was not what we thought about when we started this journey,
yeah.
right?
And you shouldn't
We,
have
again,
to.
well, and that's my thing, right? My whole idea of opening a daycare was to have control over what I wanted to offer and control over my program and control over how I wanted things to be done. And from what I've understood with the way the not-for-profit arrangement is set up, I don't think I'll have that freedom.
No.
I'm going to be giving up a lot of that freedom away, right?
Yeah,
And so that's one thing that I'm not comfortable with. And like I said, fundamentally, the fact that this is not my choice,
yeah,
right? My choice being taken away from me and being forced into a corner to go with something the government wants is also not sitting well with me, right? Now, if I don't have a choice, I mean, again, end of the day, I want to keep the business afloat, and I might have to go down that path. But that we've looked into that option, At this point, I don't think it's the right option for me.
Right.
But you know what? If I sit empty for the next 6 months, it might suddenly become the right option for me,
Yeah.
right? Because it's different 6 months down the road and sitting empty and not having any income coming in and money just flowing one way out,
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
right? So that's a tough one there. So I think where we are thinking about it is actually having conversations with our parents if we don't see anything coming out in the next couple of months, which is when I need to make a change to my program plan from profit to not for profit. I think that's when we'll kind of have to make that decision. But I'm not a fan of it. That's all I can say.
Yeah. No, I
And
don't
there
blame
there
you.
really isn't too many options. Your options really, I think as operators, we only have two choices here. Go private.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I think there are three. One is going private, one is going not for profit, right? And the third one is essentially saying that, well, maybe I'll keep the affordability grant pricing and see if I can run with it for some time till a change comes about.
Yeah. Do you think though that, I mean, as a private day home operator, the parents that come to me, they don't have access to that funding. They pay my full fees. Do you not think that there's parents out there that are willing to pay the full daycare fees if the
I
daycare offers
yeah.
what they need?
So I do think they are, but will I get 186 parents?
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
think so.
exactly.
I think the numbers is what it's the number of parents that we're looking for that's
Right.
really daunting, right? Yes, are there a few parents out there who will be willing to pay the price? Of course, yes. I mean, I know parents in my daycare who had this whole 326 and they were like, "Oh, oh, great. That's wonderful." Because they were paying much higher prices somewhere else, right? Or they
Yeah.
were paying much higher prices with us ourselves. So it didn't phase them. And we all did. Like my kids went through the daycare system, and my kids went through the daycare system prior to any affordability grant coming into the picture. So I know I paid full prices.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are parents like myself out there who have the ability to pay the full prices, right?
Right.
Now, how many is the question?
Yeah.
Right? And now are these parents willing to pay it if like a Fueling Brains is out there offering them 326.25? That's where my question mark is, right?
Yeah.
I'm not worried about some of my other competitions, right? I'm worried about the bigger ones that are my competition that
Right.
are now going to be offering it at 326.25.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely hard to compete. We feel that so hard.
Right? And that's my thing, and that's where I feel like any affordability grant should be given to the parents, and they make that choice where they want to go, where that grant should be going,
Yeah.
which I think is no different from how our public school system is set up today, right? Give each
Exactly.
child a unique identifier, which I think we are going to be getting into that starting July of this year, right? Is
Yeah.
every child will have a unique identifier. And every time the child moves from, a day home that's in the system to a daycare that's in the system, the grant will move along with them.
Yeah. Exactly. That's like in the town hall meeting. Part of the question that I asked was like about the funding going to the parents instead of to the daycare center or the day homes. And I made it clear as a private day home, I do not want wage top ups. We don't want government funding
Hmm.
for us. Let's
Right.
like I am 100% clear on that. I understand me as a provider to get any of that government grants or funding or whatever, I need to be with an agency, which hell no. So I understand though I don't want that funding, but there's no reason the parents should not get that funding just because they came to a private day home. There's no reason. And I remember the lady I was speaking with, she said, well, we just need to make sure we provide quality childcare. And I'm like, I got muted, so I wasn't able to continue. But my point was, that's not up to you. That's not up to you as the government. Like your job as the government is to make sure that daycare centers and day homes that your agencies run are high quality. And absolutely, their licensing that goes into daycare centers, private daycare centers as well. And I have no problem with government licensing coming to my house and ensuring I'm doing my job right. That's fine. But the people who guarantee the quality of childcare that I offer, is the parents. Because if it wasn't quality, I would not have
They
been open
wouldn't
for
send their
25
kids
years.
there.
They
Exactly.
would
And they
know.
would let, no, and they would let everybody on Facebook know
Yeah.
that I was doing a shit job. They just would. So that's how quality is monitored in a private day home. So what is the difference giving that funding to the parents for the kids individually versus to the not for profit or the agency run or whatever? Like it shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't.
Absolutely. No, I think yeah, I'm completely in agreement with you on that, right? And I think that's where the system has to change. It's it's not the right one. It's not the right one to hit the goals that you wish to with the whole affordability
Oh,
grant.
exactly. I just want to like smack them sometimes, when they're like, we need childcare spaces, we need childcare spaces. It's like, hello, they're here. You're just not using them. You're just not
Yeah.
choosing to include them in your program. They're like, no, we don't have any. They need to be this way. They need to be this. No, they're still right here. They're still doing exactly what you're saying that you're looking for. You just don't like who owns them. Sorry, that's exactly what it is.
And to be honest, like I don't like I said, right? Like I mean if a parent and there's very valid reasons for why any parent chooses a day home versus a daycare too, right?
Absolutely.
And that's where I say it's a choice of the parents, right?
Yeah.
And there shouldn't really be a friction between day homes and daycares one way
No,
or the other. We should be in equal level competition with each other
exactly.
and with this with the sole purpose of providing a good quality service.
Yeah.
And it's really, like I said, like, and I think we're saying the same thing is this needs to be a parent's choice.
Yeah.
And the
100%.
way the system is set up today takes the choice away from the parents, whether it's their choice from, you know, a low quality daycare to a high quality daycare, from a daycare to a day home. I don't think the government needs to be dictating that to them. I don't think we as operators should be dictating that to them. I
Exactly.
completely agree with you. Who is the best judge of the quality that a daycare or a day home provides or a childcare operator provides?
Exactly.
It's the parents.
Yeah. 100%.
They're the ones who feel this is where my child's going to be safe. They're the ones who feel this is where I want the child to go because it aligns to our values at home, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I always urge new parents who are considering us is I say, please come in and please meet with us.
Yeah.
Take a tour of the, you know, have a look at the facility, meet our faculty because you need to know whether we are a fit for your family.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, no kids are the same at all.
No,
So they all have different needs and different requirements and different environments that are going to work for them individually. So it's not a case of, like you say, the one size fits all.
exactly.
Parents need to have those choices because they know their kid best. They know, like,
Yep,
I know my two sons, one of them thrived at daycare, the other one did not. And
yep,
if I'd have been in a different industry, I would have had to pick. One would have gone to a daycare center, one would have gone to a day home because
yep.
that's just their individual needs. And I think parents need to be allowed and have the opportunity to use those different needs.
So that's a choice that parents today get for K plus, right? Why can
Yeah,
that choice not be given to them from the day a child is born?
yeah,
Why is that choice only provided to them when they get to kindergarten age, right?
right.
Because it's not uncommon for two siblings to go to two different types of schools
Oh,
because
exactly.
one works for them, the other one doesn't. And so parents have that choice, right? And
Yeah.
that's where, you know, their money goes and it's something they'll get used to when they get there. I just think it's unfair that they don't have that choice from the day the child is born,
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely.
right? So
Do you plan to look into any legal action you could take?
it's something that's definitely I'm considering. And I think a few other operators are too. Again, it's not necessarily a choice route, but it will definitely be a route that, you know, if we're pushed into a corner that we might want to go down, right? Not like I said, all we're looking for is a solution.
Have
Exactly.
you heard of any class action lawsuits that are possibly starting up?
There is. So I'm part of a group that one of the operators had, like after all the different coverage that we got in the media. Some of the operators got interviewed, and it came up with CBC, CTV, certain articles as well. One of the operators actually had a lawyer reach out to them, saying that, hey, we think there is definitely merit in in your particular situation, and so some of us have definitely joined hands to
Yep.
try and understand what are our options, right?
Yeah.
If we are forced to move into not-for-profit, or if we're forced to really run our daycare without a solution in place, that's significant money for all of us,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? It's
Uh,
effort, it's all the anxiety that and the trauma that goes with it. And like I said, it's purely from being able to hold the government accountable. So
Absolutely.
we've started some initial conversations, nothing that's catching a lot of steam. I think where a lot of us would like to see this go is the government being able to be heard and seeing some action coming from the government, because I think what we have all understood is neither of these options are quick.
Yeah.
Any of these options are going to take that 6 to 9 months, right? Whether you go down the path of a class action suit, you go down the path of trying to convince the government, it's going to take time,
Yeah.
right? And like I said, a class action suit for many of us is a very, very last option that we want to be pursuing. I think ACE National has been trying to support us as much as they can,
Yeah.
and they've been giving us some guidance on what we could potentially do, primarily because many of the people who are affected are not ACE members, right?
Right.
So Crystal Churcher was really kind enough to meet with just our specific group on Tuesday to kind of walk us through just what the situation is, what is in the realm of possibility, and just looking at how ACE might be able to support us, and just the avenues that they have access to. And I know that we had a survey that we internally had, but their members didn't have access to it. So she put together a separate survey, which was open to all. So they've
Okay.
got some numbers coming out of it that she's hoping to be able to take to a meeting with the minister on Monday,
Oh,
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
good.
Ace.
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so I think they're working through that, and we're trying to support them as well as we can, trying to keep some of those emotional anxieties on the side while we do it, because emotionally, I think what a lot of us would like to do is just, go down that lawsuit. And that's
Yeah.
kind of where we were prior to the conversation with Crystal on Tuesday. But post that, I think we've kind of said, let's see what the next couple of weeks seem to show. It also, timing wise, unfortunately, this is not the best time, right? Because we have the GCC happening, and
Yeah.
this is not an area that, any of our politicians are able to give any importance to,
Right.
unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
Uh, it's so that's the timing has been the best for sure. But I think a couple of weeks down the road, it will be a completely different scenario.
That's good.
Yeah.
So are they like, if you've tried to like contact the government to ask questions and stuff, they're just not responding at all, or
We get the standard responses. We get told, reach out to your MLAs because the MPs really can't
oh
respond.
my God,
So,
that's the
yeah,
worst.
right? Because
Yeah.
we're at the federal level, you need to be talking. It's back to that finger pointing, right? Saying
Yeah.
that, oh, I'm happy to, raise a concern about this at a federal level, but you really need to be talking to your MLA so that it can be addressed at a provincial level, right?
Which
And I
honestly
think
is
what we
useless.
are trying to do is raise that awareness at both levels,
Yeah.
right? Bombarding them with emails and sending them emails to say, hey, we have a problem, and this problem is getting worse, with every day that it takes to come to some kind of a solution, right?
Yeah.
In the hope that it raises enough of a noise, or at least there's enough communication that's happened for them to give it some attention
Yeah.
whatsoever, right? But at this point in time, we've heard nothing other than, oh, talk to somebody else.
Yeah. When the whole like back in what 2019, 2018, when the whole $10 a day daycare was initially brought in, I personally wrote to every single MLA
Yeah,
throughout Alberta saying how it
right.
is that private day homes have been left out of this, and like just this whole not so friendly but nicely worded
Right.
letter about, the situation. And many of them replied and said they totally agree with me, but there's nothing they can do. And then others didn't reply. And I think I got one person that says they disagree. And I'm like, oh, fair enough. Like, whatever. But so then I started writing to higher like levels of government, and they said, you need to send this to your MLA. Like, well, I did. They're like, well, there you go. That was
Yeah.
basically their response. Well, then you did what you can do. Like, are you kidding me? I'm sorry. Like, so the
Yeah,
whole,
no, and I think yeah, and I think what Ace was trying to say was also that like let's still do that, because
yeah,
what that does is then that gives more ammunition for Alberta and the other provinces that are not in agreement with the Seawalk agreement,
right.
right? Like it gives them a lot more backup to say, well, you're now hearing from our operators itself themselves, right?
Yeah,
And we are trying to see if we can get some parents to write as well, because end of the day, this goes down to them. So feel like what we're trying to do here is try and see if we can get that singular voice,
yeah,
right? Saying that nobody is happy with this. You're saying this is for the benefit of the province. The province officials are not happy. The people who are operating these spaces are not happy. And
yeah,
guess what? The people you're sending this is supposed to be ideally supporting are also not
yeah,
happy.
exactly. Yeah. I think that's kind of the key. The more people that write to their MLA, maybe that's where the difference comes in,
Yeah. So I
hopefully.
think that's it's we're I mean, and that's part of what I think some of us who have our own have like pre-waiting, pre-registrations in place are trying to do with these families is educating them, because many of them are not even aware of this change.
Yeah,
I mean, I think many of them are still stuck with subsidies
yeah,
and haven't realized that that's gone away as
yeah,
well, right? It's just like these are just like, I mean, come on, you made that whole change to that model in April, and then in May you come up with something like this, which is again going to affect people. Like I just feel like it's just change after change,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, we're just here waiting for the next bomb to drop, right? On the whole sector. Like, what are they gonna mess with next?
Yeah, and I mean, this is what, this is what, yeah, like again, from a corporate perspective, you never do this kind of changes, these mass changes
Yeah,
so back to back, because all it does is it creates change fatigue, right?
yeah,
No information, no communication is truly being dispersed. You're not giving it time to get to the people that it needs to get to, and which is really why I feel like this government, whoever these people are, and I'm not picking one government over another. I'm saying this very holistically. I
yeah.
think there are a lack of skills when it
Oh,
comes to
100%.
change
Yeah,
management and communication. They
yeah,
probably are great at, I mean, the communication in terms of like press releases and things like that. But when it comes to communicating an idea
yeah.
and the impact of it down to the common person, I feel there's a gap.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And even just figuring out what's best for everybody in some areas, they have no clue. No clue.
No, no, no. So yeah, so like I said, it's I'm laughing because I don't have a choice.
Oh,
Again,
exactly. What else you do, right? You
I,
can even,
I can cry over it. I think I've done enough
yeah,
of that. So
yeah,
I'm pretty much there.
yeah. Oh, 100%. We really feel for you. We are the outcasts of our industry, really. So we totally understand and sympathize with what you're going through. Like our income and our businesses have been completely destroyed and messed with for the last 5+ years now by the government. So you're in understanding in a group of people that understand. We might not have the
Absolutely.
same financial quite situation, but I mean,
Yeah.
there's been so many private day homes that have lost their business and had to close because they can't survive with the competition. So
Yeah.
we definitely understand where you're at and sympathize with what you're going through.
Thank you. And I just think that this needs to be that change we're talking about, that just has to be a joint effort, right? Like
Yeah,
it's not going to happen otherwise. And we shouldn't really, I mean, we need a system that doesn't discriminate.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, in this sector, I feel nobody's safe. No providers or owners are safe because
Oh, they're all momentary reliefs, right?
exactly.
It's like, oh, this time it's not me.
Yeah, exactly. And
But that there's nothing to say it won't be, and that's not how
yeah,
businesses or sectors can operate, right? You need stability, you need consistency.
yeah,
You cannot have this harebrained ideas being implemented tomorrow.
yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry to say, but then how are we different from our neighbors down south and what they're going through then?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And honestly, the whole sector needs to join together and put a united front. And
Yeah,
because the one thing we have in common is we all care for kids. We all want the kids to have the best opportunities to be cared for, to be in quality programs. That's what we're all about. So we
yep,
should
yep,
be a united front. Stand up against the government
absolutely.
together. Stop messing with us. You mess with one, you mess with all of us, right?
Right, right, exactly, right. And so there has been, I know there's been some conversation about does it make sense for us to move, become a union, right? I'm not a not a big fan of that because
Yeah,
either because that has its own I mean that has its own issues, right? Like I
yeah,
mean again, I'm a big proponent of having freedom,
yeah.
and that's yet another way to curtail some of your freedom.
Oh, exactly.
I've dealt with unions in the past more from an employer perspective, and while I know that it's good for some of the employees, it's not good for all of them,
No, no.
right? Like I've had challenges promoting some really good talent
Yeah,
because that particular group that I was managing at that point in time was part of a union, and seniority meant a lot more than capability.
yeah, exactly.
So so there are pros and cons, but I like while I'm absolutely on board with we all have to band together as
Yeah,
an association, as a group of people who have the same intent. I don't think I'm really on board with being a part of a union.
no, nope, not at all.
I don't think that's the right solution either. I feel it's I understand why many are considering it, right? Just because of the situation we find ourselves with. But I think that solution, if we choose to go down that way, has long-term negative effects as well to it.
Yeah. Oh, and it just divides the sector again, right? Because
Yes. Right.
I don't see a way for unions to work for day homes. So it would totally put that division right down, between the daycare centers and the day home providers. So you're
Yeah.
dividing an entire sector again. So
Right.
yeah,
And that's why
and
I really think that it needs to be more of, people banding together.
yeah,
I mean, again, in a structured or an unstructured ma fashion doesn't matter, but this affects all of us,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
And the
100%.
change that we are trying to bring about is also not specific to a daycare or a day home. The change
Exactly.
that we are rallying for at the federal level is that choice for a parent.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the one completely common goal, right?
Yeah, and it's been a bit disheartening. I know there are, I mean, we've seen this. I think a few people have shared some snippets from some of the chatter that's been going on the day home side, right? Where some people have actually felt happy about this happening, because they've been affected in the past and they're feeling like, oh, this is wonderful. Daycares are being affected, and that's a good thing. And all I can say for that is that I don't think we're all seeing the big picture when we say that, right?
Yeah,
I understand that's again a very emotional rebuttal to what's happening, but I mean, what needs to happen is it shouldn't that discrimination or that differentiation between a daycare and a day home needs to cease to exist,
yeah,
right? It needs to be back to your point, Joanne, about we all are in this together, and what we all care about is truly that development of a child and the service we
yeah,
provide to parents.
exactly.
And the reason I think we are divided at this point is because of the way the government set this up.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%.
A classic reason why I don't think governments should get in the middle of running businesses and controlling how this happens. I mean, you have as a government, you need to set your mandate and you need to make sure that that mandate is being met through, making sure that your key performance indicators are there. You should not get into the how.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any final thoughts before ending this?
Well, I mean, I think I would just like to summarize. I know we had a really good conversation, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity and the stage to come and have this
Oh,
conversation with you folks.
absolutely.
But I think I just want to summarize in terms of just kind of where I'm feeling, right? Like it's back to what I was saying is it's I feel the issue is at two levels here, right? At a federal level, we all need to band together and make sure that we are providing our provincial government with the support that they need, as operators, as families that are affected, so that they can make the case for the affordability grant to be given to the parents and to the families, so that they can have the choice of where they put their kids in, right?
Yeah,
Daycare, stay home, it shouldn't matter. For profit, not for profit, shouldn't matter. But that's, I think, our government, our provincial government, I believe, is on side with that thought. And anything that we can do to support it, we should, because it affects all of us there. On the the second issue at hand is the provincial mismanagement of the for-profit spaces, and with regards to that, it would be good to see some change in the short term, or at least some acknowledgement, if not anything else. And I think Ace National is trying to support us in that, and so anything that the affected daycare operators can do to provide them with the data they need, or any other way by making the noise at provincial levels, federal levels, I think will be helpful, right? The
yeah,
numbers that I spoke about, I just want to quickly reiterate on that, right? 150 plus operators affected, $70 million of capital investment that might get stranded, 36 million per year of lease agreements is what is being, I mean, these are all numbers that's being pumped into the economy that you cannot disregard, that the
right.
provincial, federal government should not be disregarding. Sectors that are affected, it's small business owners that are being affected. It is women business owners that are being affected, right?
Yeah,
2,000 plus women-centric jobs per year that's being created by this sector alone.
yeah.
So these numbers are big, they're important, and I think should not be disregarded
Oh,
when we think
absolutely.
about what's happening here.
Yeah, no, 100%. So thanks for being here with us again this week, Vidya.
Thanks, Joanne. Thanks for all your support in this. Well, I don't want to call it a fight, but thanks for all your support in getting the word out to everyone out there.
You're welcome. So that's it for Day Home Divas this week.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Dayhome Divas, on TikTok at dayhome.divas, and join our Facebook group, Dayhome Divas.
If anyone has any topics you would like for us to cover, or if you have any questions or suggestions, you can email us at dayhomedivas@gmail.com.
And we would also appreciate if you could rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening on. It really helps the podcast move up on their charts so it gets more exposure. Hope you join us again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.